Hi, and welcome to SCW here on YouTube.com. Thank you for choosing the channel and choosing the video. Please subscribe right now. Leave any comments in the comment section. Please like and share the video as well. This is a live Q&A format, so thank you for joining me today. If you are watching live, then you can get involved. Drop in a question, and I will answer it for you here on YouTube. So yeah, it could be anything based on WWE, AEW, NXT, Impact Wrestling, anything really you want to get involved with. Feel free to get involved in the comment section below. But of course, the big news, of course, last night that Keithley making his debut in All Elite Wrestling, and how cool was it to see him there in All Elite Wrestling? It kind of made sense as well. Tony Khan actually sort of kind of saying the tweet was kind of a bit of a mistake as well, the Forbidden Door stuff. We got Jay White as well making a debut as well, or making a cameo appearance, if you want, on Dynamite last night as well, which was pretty awesome to see. But no, Keithley, of course, was the person that came in and also, you know, being involved as well with that the qualifier there for the Face of the Revolution ladder match, beating Isaiah Cassidy. Awesome match as well. Loved the way that he was portrayed in that match also, particularly some of the moves, the way that Isaiah Cassidy was thrown around the ring, and as well as also the catch of Mark Quinn as well in a powerbomb position to then sort of powerbomb him on top onto the ring apron, and also just on sort of Isaiah as well. I just thought it was pretty darn awesome. But we've got a couple of people in the house already. KXI saying hi, hope you're doing well. Rated R for Wrestling as well as here. He says, what's up, my guy? How are you doing, man? Thanks. Good to see you as well. And he does say as well that Keithley needs to become champ ASAP. Do you know what? I really believe that the future is going to be bright for Keithley in All Elite Wrestling. I really do think that it could actually even be a quick start to get into the TNT title. I could see him as a heavy favorite going into that ladder match, despite him, you know, being a big dude in a ladder match. I think that he certainly's got to be one of the odds-on favorites to win it. And yeah, whoever would be the TNT champion, whether it's still Sammy Guevara, whether it's Andrade El Idolo, whether it's Darby Allin, I don't think it matters really who would be in the position in the way where it comes to Keithley. I can see that him being a big deal in AEW very quickly. And to be honest as well, I mean, the theme music that came in, I thought was pretty darn cool as well. So yeah, I mean, for me, it ticked a lot of boxes last night. Really enjoyed seeing Keithley a part of All Elite Wrestling, and just, you know, I just have high hopes. I mean, he didn't have the last 18 months on his shoulder. He sort of came out as the Keithley that we knew in NXT, perhaps what a lot of people have seen on the indies before as well. This was the Keithley of old, and just the way he was presented on our TV screens just from the start, I just thought to myself, do you know what? I felt really good about it, really confident. And you know, Keithley's a very popular guy in our wrestling community, so you know, I do think that the future is very bright for him. And like I say, TNT title, he could even go further, in my personal opinion, but of course it depends how quick they'd want to push him. Right After Wrestling also says, do you think it's going to be another time that AEW pushes a guy quick after debuting, then just kind of fizzling out? I suppose there's always that opportunity that it could happen, but I just think Keithley is a special athlete. He's a special performer. I know it didn't quite work for him on Raw when he was there, but WWE just didn't quite get it. And I think that that's the situation with it. But of course, there aren't going to be, with many debuts, not everyone can you know, take off the ground very quickly. But like I say, Keithley, for me, he's just, there is something special there. And I think it would be a waste if you looked in 6 months, a year from now, and think what could have been for him, and that he didn't sort of, you know, he didn't get to where he should get in the card. But for me personally, like I say, TNT title, I think it's a good place for him to start. I think he has some great matches. Smaller guys, you know, bouncing around the ring for him, I think is pretty fun to watch in general. Definitely could have the sort of big meaty matches as well. But for me personally, no, I feel good about this debut. I think that it's going to be a very positive time ahead. And yeah, looking forward to seeing where it goes. KXI says, might as well start with the most obvious one. Do you have faith in Tony Khan booking Keithley if he it seems that he isn't that good at booking big men? Example, Powerhouse Hobbs. We could mention Lance Archer as well, even though he was in the title match last night. I didn't believe Lance Archer had a chance in hell of winning that match, although it was a fun match watching the Texas Death Match. Powerhouse Hobbs, of course, been thrown into Team Taz, and as the example you've given, I do think that Hobbs could perhaps doing better in AEW, but at the same time, there's just so many people to push at one time. Only so many people get the rub, and I would say that Hobbs compared to Keithley, Hobbs has still got a long way to go. Keithley is someone that's, if you want, more established, and I do feel to myself that I've got a confidence, as I've said already for the first 5 minutes of this video. I think that there will be some good booking. I know not all the big men it's worked out for, but I do think that some of the booking Tony Khan does is extraordinary, and I think that certainly the potential is limitless for Keithley. Yeah, pun intended, but we'll see how it will go. West Coast Podcasting House, spectacular, Steve. Thank you very much. Love the Q&As. Do you think Keithley will match up to NXT Keithley? Well, judging on night one, yes, easily. I think definitely he's definitely in the ballpark for that. But like I say, we'll have to see over a matter of time, of months, and perhaps even over the next sort of year or so if it will match up to the Keithley of NXT. But let's not forget with NXT Keithley, he came in and he didn't really get to the top straight away. It took when we had those 1 hour NXT shows, he wasn't the forefront, he wasn't on takeovers. All of a sudden it became a 2 hour show, and Keithley was the one that got more time, more exposure, more over. And then we got the Keithley was the a North American champion, followed by the NXT champion being at the same time, of course, before giving up the North American Championship and then being fast tracked to Raw, and of course the rest is history. But I think Keithley, I think he's going to be doing good things in AEW, as I say already. I don't want to sound like a broken record already in the first 6 minutes of this show, but I've got high hopes, and just judging by that, the entrance music, the way he was presenting himself with his ring attire, the swagger of Keithley, you can tell he's had a break. You can tell he's ready to be back and do good things. So yeah, like I say, I would fast track this guy straight to the top of AEW, whether it's the TNT title, whether it's becoming a challenger for one of the main championships, whether it's double or nothing, maybe too soon, but certainly All Out, maybe Full Gear, looking around that time. I'd happily have him towards the top of the card. Ed Fries in the house, thank you, Ed, for checking out the stream. Hope you're doing very, very well. Thank you for checking it out. We've also got a few more questions here. We've got Jackson Rick in house. Thank you for checking out the stream. It says, how would you book SmackDown tomorrow, in your opinion? Great question, this one. I'm trying to think what's even advertised for SmackDown at this point. SmackDown just seems to be, for me, the hardest show to watch in WWE right now. I know we've got Roman Reigns, which is always interesting TV. Ronda, of course, made the choice for Charlotte Flair. It'd be interesting to see if Charlotte Flair would actually defend that championship between now and WrestleMania, or if it's just now a safe pick. Same with Roman, but Roman's defending the title at the Elimination Chamber, so I guess we'll get perhaps a bit more build towards that with him and Goldberg, whether they'll sort of maybe, I don't know, wait it out and go for the go-home show. But that's an interesting go-home show as well. SmackDown the night before, and then it's supposed to be, there on the Saturday. I'm not sure the travel that's involved with it, but I'm sure perhaps maybe they'll put a good show together, whether it's whether they can do pre-recorded or not, I don't know, but certainly continue the build to those matches for WrestleMania and for Elimination Chamber as well. I mean, the things we've got Madcap Moss against Drew McIntyre, I'm not looking forward to that. Just mixing the matches up, I suppose, because I feel a lot of repetitive stuff on SmackDown of late. We've seen enough with Ricochet and Cesaro, with Sheamus and Ridge Holland, unless they're going to give us a real twist with something like that. We've got Big E back in the picture there. Maybe give him something, a direction going into WrestleMania. That was something I would personally like to see. KXI is saying, who would you think would be in the Face of Revolution ladder match alongside Keithley? Well, that's a great question. Really good question. I mean, Darby Allin seems to want to go for the TNT title. We know that Andrade wants to as well. Wardlow's been someone that's been spoken about heavily on the build at the start of the turn of the year by MJF. So that could be a few people in and amongst there already. It's hard to think who else could perhaps join, but maybe some of those sort of mid-carders, those up-and-comers maybe, could be interesting. Maybe someone like, actually, not actually an up-and-comer at all, but maybe someone like Cody who wants to get back in the picture. Could be another one you could throw up there. Ethan Page was in and around there last year. Scorpio Sky was the winner last year. So there's a number of people you could throw into the match, and judging by it, I think it's going to be a really good match. And yeah, I mean, the card in general for Revolution is shaping up to be an awesome one. So where we've got Adam Cole and Hangman, we've got looking like we'll get CM Punk and MJF one more time. There's some great matches looking to be lined up there. So yeah, should be really cool. And this match here should be another show stealer as well. Jackson Rick asking, how do we feel about Matt Hardy slowly going broken? Is he going broken, or is he sort of needing a change? Because obviously he's losing faith in Private Party. I think a lot of people were expecting Andrade just to turn on Matt Hardy, but they kind of did the kind of Matt Hardy like Jeff walking out on the tag team. On Dynamite last night. So it'd be interesting what's going to happen. I do think it's going to link to Jeff Hardy coming in, them two being together, perhaps going against Private Party, the HFO going forward. It's if Andrade seems to be the one ultimately turns on. But now we've seen that twist last night. It could certainly go a different direction. Oh, sorry, it's needed. Rated R for Wrestling. Hopefully he is established as a mainstay in AEW, not just another guy lost in the shuffle on a huge roster after a couple of months. I totally agree with that. And personally, we know with Keithley, a well-established performer, and if he is, like you say there, lost in the shuffle for a couple of months, you know that AEW has done a massive disservice. Advice saying thoughts on AEW loading up on talent and giving some of the indie names that they signed early to build up the company. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, are they giving up on all those indie names? Perhaps on quite a few of them. We know that obviously contracts are coming up this year. We know some are potentially maybe not being released, but are not being re-signed. Peter Avalon being a key one there. I think the number of people that were on Dark and Dark Elevation, if they're not looking like they could be a star for like Dynamite or Rampage, I do agree that perhaps they will be given up on. The thing is, ultimately, and we give criticism to all the other companies that release talent, like WWE, for example, but it's all about making the most established promotion possible and the one that's going to get eyes on the prize. And you know, if there's certain stars like they've tried building up haven't got to where they want to, and can get these people in that they think will get to that position, then certainly, you know, you look at it and say, they're going to take what's going to be the quicker route. So, I mean, if you're looking at people like Keithley on the market, there's people like Karrion Kross that's probably available, Jeff Hardy, you know, Wyndham, you know, potentially if they can all come in as well. Those sort of talents are going to, you know, be game changers, are going to give ratings improving. Now, of course, you want to see them, you know, like you said, they go for some of those indie names, but a number of them have worked out as well. When we look obviously with the pillars of like a Darby Allin, MJF, you know, the Jungle Boys of this world as well, Sammy Guevara's, they've all worked out. They've been probably given prominent positions from the start, but there's lots of ones that have worked out for it. But and as we said, there's so much talent. Not everybody can work, and even some that have probably seen more established names, like a writer I mentioned earlier on. You mentioned someone like a Jay Lethal, I suppose, could be an example. Have got more lost in the shuffle than actually succeeded. So it has had a bit of a mixed bag success with it. But the ones that will rise to the top will always be the ones that will be most successful, and arguably the ones with the most talent. So it's a shame to see anyone if they are given up on. But at the same time, I don't blame AEW for going this avenue and trying to get the biggest names possible to try and make it the biggest company possible. Because I mean, WWE has let go a lot of these names, and let's be fair, there are a lot of names that are very popular that we want to see, and some have even chose to leave WWE to take this position, whether it's Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson. So there's lots of different ways to look at it, but yeah, you want to see them build their own names, and you want to see them continue to build some stars for the future. But yeah, I don't have a problem with them doing this method either. KXI is being, it would be Keithley. Dante Martin's a great shout. Got to say it very quickly. Would be ideal for a ladder match. Ricky Starks and Hobbs, Darby, Andrade, Wardlow. If you can want to add Cody to make it. So, well, there you go. I mean, that would make a hell of a lineup, wouldn't it, for the Face of Revolution ladder match? And I still believe Men of the Year may be sniffing in and around that sort of section, especially. Like I say, Scorpio Sky won it last year. Sometimes with wrestling companies, they like to revisit that idea. Can they win it a second year in a row? But yeah, I mean, there's some great shouts to some names you mentioned. Ricky Starks last week with Jay Lethal. I mean, that sort of finish, the way they did that was absolute perfection, the counter into his finisher move. So yeah, I'd like to see Ricky Starks part of it. That'd be really, really cool. And Dante Martin would be awesome shout as well. But yeah, I mean, if people were to look at this now and say that's your lineup, who would you pick? I mean, I'd find it hard to go against Keithley, but of course, I suppose anything can happen in a ladder match, can't it? Supersonic X, thanks for checking out the stream. Hope you're doing well. Hopefully, Keithley will be a great addition to the AEW. We might see Mia Yim in AEW and Impact Wrestling. I agree with you. I would say Mia Yim would be great for actually for the AEW women's division. And did my eyes deceive me? Did I see 2 women's matches this week on AEW Dynamite? That's great. I know that the second one, I'm assuming indeed, was like a minute, but still, we'll take it. It's progress. So if we can get more women's matches on AEW Dynamite, I think that'd be great. I mean, I can kind of, I suppose, if you want to get it with Rampage, but I think with Dynamite we need to start pushing now where we get at least 1 women's match an hour or at least 2 on the show. And if you get someone like a talent in like Mia Yim, it's only going to help establish that women's division further. And if you wanted my honest opinion, if there is a place that AEW should look now to improve their roster, if anywhere, it should be probably the women's division, just to bring in a couple more names. And I think Mia Yim would be one of those. Ember Moon could be another one that I think would be really beneficial. Time Valkyrie's out there as well. So there's some big names out there. Scarlet Bordeaux as well. She can really go in the ring as well. So there's lots of options that you can go down. So we'll have to wait and see what will happen as they go along. Okay, so if WWE were to do a pillars type thing like AEW, who would you think would be the pillars? Great question. This obviously we're taking and looking them young talent, I'm guessing, for this position, people that could build to be the future. I love that CM Punk always includes Britt Baker in that conversation as well. So I'm going to do the same thing and look at WWE and sort of go back to my who I think could be the breakout stars of this year. I think Austin Theory, I think, has got a big year ahead of him. I think he'd be a name that'll be on a lot of people's lips. Liv Morgan, I think, could be another one. I think would be one of those that you could look for the future as well. Dominic Mysterio, say what you want about him, but of course he is Mysterio. It's in there. I think with more experience, more time, I think he will be someone that'll be a top star in many years to come. I mean, we're probably still looking like 4-5 years away, but I still think that Dominic will get there eventually and be a top guy in the industry. And I think Montez Ford would be another one I'd throw out there because I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that I think the Street Profits are a great tag team, but I think Montez Ford has just got, there's something there that I think could make him a top single star. So I'd like to see him perhaps go for that at some stage. So that'll be my choice for the pillars. But who would you pick? That's an interesting one because NXT could be a great shout as well. And actually, before I move on, maybe like Grayson Waller would be a great shout for that. Bron Breakker would be another one in mind. Carmelo Hayes, I think, is unbelievable in the ring. And to look at it, perhaps someone like a Tony D'Angelo probably would be a shout as well. I like Cora Jade. I think she's good, but probably still a bit green at this stage. It feels like Sky will face Sami Revolution since they've been building that for a minute now. But that certainly could be an avenue that could go down. Like you say, that's definitely an option. It would actually not need Sky then to be in the ladder match, like you say. Could be an interesting match as well to actually view on pay-per-view. I would prefer they went with Andrade or Darby Allin in the position, to be honest. I think that would be more my choice if they had to do a TNT title match. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, there's definitely a lot of twists and turns and a lot of contenders, it seems, right now for the TNT title. But Sky, for me, is a top performer, but for some reason just isn't booked strongly enough where I believe in him to win these matches. I think that's my disconnect of him at this point. What I would do is have Keithley launch Cody, like he did to Adam Cole in NXT, and was the winner, Wardlow or Keith. Do you know what? I think that would be a really fun thing to see that actually with Cody. I think fans would be right on board with that as well. Yeah, I mean, Wardlow or Keith, I think definitely would probably be two potential favourites, heavy favourites as well. Wardlow mainly as well for the MJF storyline, because if MJF doesn't get the title and Wardlow does get this position, I believe Wardlow was expected to give it up. So that would add more fuel to the fire, wouldn't it, for the MJF storyline? I've got to say very quickly, keep your questions coming in, but just to talk about MJF last night on Dynamite, I thought was absolutely awesome. I love the way he was introduced at the start, just on the throne there. Completely dismissing, by the way, Wardlow. I thought Wardlow's facials were brilliant in that as well, the way they did the opening package, the way they sort of played with that storyline, played with the CM Punk storyline as well, I thought was really, really well put together. And MJF just seems to have that heel heat because he wanted to move on to Hangman Adam Page as well. So I like the fact that all three storylines for MJF were all teased in one segment and all connected fairly well together. I do think there was a slight disconnect with CM Punk wanting to face Wardlow, but then obviously it was FTR with a tag team match. But I put that more down to the fact that I believe that MJF is just dismissing Wardlow at this point. I think perhaps he probably believes Wardlow could do the job, and I think he wants to be the only guy that's beat CM Punk at this point. I think that's why FTR sort of threw themselves in the way of position. But I think obviously the rematch probably, as asked in the next question from DC Wrestling, do you think CM Punk wins the rematch with MJF? I actually do. I believe when it comes to pay-per-view, I think that CM Punk will get the victory back. MJF, I think for me, doesn't need to win it twice, even though technically he won twice last week. But MJF got the heat in Chicago. It was a risky move in some people's eyes, but I think it was the right move to have him actually pick the victory over Punk in Chicago, get that heel heat. We could cancel a territory. That's what I love about it. It was risky, it was bold, it was daring, and it came out the other side with pure glory with MJF. Probably one of the best matches, I would say, in Dynamite history personally. So for me, I really, really enjoyed it. But when it comes to that rematch, I do think CM Punk is going to win it. Whether that leads then to CM Punk going for the title next, perhaps maybe on like a Dynamite in between. We have these beach breaks and stuff like that. We'll probably get one as well in between now and Double or Nothing. So then MJF perhaps could get him in his position for that. Or we work for MJF versus Wardlow first, and then we do Punk versus Hangman. It can go a number of different ways. But if you wanted my personal opinion, I would love MJF to become champion, and I would love then for Wardlow to get in that position. But to answer your question there in full depth there, I do think Punk wins the rematch, yes. And that's a very early prediction to come in here because I believe it will be at Revolution. The pillars that you could honestly give like 7 of them to KXI, saying Bron Breakker, Tony D, of course, Tony D'Angelo, Carmelo Hayes, Grayson Waller, Dominic, Austin Theory. Yeah, there's so many that could be in that position. But I mean, that's the thing. WWE have got so much potential star talent. It's just pushing them to get into that level. As we spoke about earlier in the video, when it comes with WWE as being as guilty as maybe you could say of AEW, they have so many people at their disposal. It's so easy to get lost in that shuffle. But NXT, it's a very fresh place now to what it was, and we see all these stars that have come through there, and hopefully they'll get a chance to sort of do what they do best, and get more minutes, get more time, get more exposure, and then hopefully they can get themselves into a position where they'll actually become top guys in NXT, be ready for Raws and Smackdowns. I mentioned the Dominic and Theory; they're already in the position of Raw at the moment, so Dominic has been doing some good things with the Miz last couple of weeks. I've enjoyed that sort of way that story has been put together. I think it's building for Rey Mysterio and the Miz at Elimination Chamber. Austin Theory, he's in the Chamber match for the WWE Championship, so he's been doing good things. And I must say, watching Austin Theory live at the Survivor Series, I thought he had a stellar performance. He seems way ahead of his time. I think that within the next few years, Austin Theory will be the top guy, and he really reminds me of a Randy Orton. I know a lot of people actually say that he reminds him of a John Cena. For me, I see legend killer all day long. I see Randy from 2002 breeding in now to that Intercontinental title sort of run when he sort of joined Evolution. I feel Theory's getting to that phase, and definitely think a mid-card title will be in his future, perhaps even Money in the Bank. So let's see. I think Theory's got a very, very bright future ahead. Also been asked, what do I think the stipulation for Punk and MJF, because I feel it will have a stip in it. Interesting if it would have a stip in it, because of course CM Punk would perhaps want no way the Pinnacle could get involved. So I guess still Cage would probably make the most sense. Maybe a submission match as well, because I'm sure Punk would say you wouldn't make me quit. So there's a couple of avenues you could probably go down for it. But yeah, it'd be interesting if they do a stip, what they would do. Street Fighters usually seems to be the go-to of Punk in history, but like I say, no DQ. It favors the likes of the Pinnacle and people like that being involved. Maybe Wardlow is the reason that MJF loses the match. Maybe Wardlow is the reason that it remains one-on-one with Punk and MJF, and that's how it continues on from there. So lots of different ideas and theories. We'll see how it goes out. DC Wrestling, do you think they're going to do Rosa and Britt for the title at Revolution? Yes, I do. I think that's going to be the direction. It was sort of come a bit out of left field, doesn't it, with Britt Baker and the Mercedes Martinez stuff. But I think Rosa wins the rematch, and clearly that then starts to build for Revolution. And from what was rumoured late last year, I mentioned the cage match a minute ago, that was the rumoured stipulation for this match between these two ladies. And if that was the rumor was any truth in it, and I forget the source, so apologies. I like to give the sources if I can. I do feel that this was potentially discussed as a potential main event, so let's see if it would go down that avenue. I don't think the way they're currently being built, it would be main event, but hey, if it was like match 7, match 8, so it's near the main event, I think it's a very good position for the ladies at this point, which show definitely a lot of strength and faith in their work as well. So yeah, I mean, I would be quite down for that if that was to be. But yeah, I definitely think it's happening at Revolution. And if it does, I'll say it now, I think Rosa wins the title. Also been asked, speaking of Theory, do you think a match between him and Shane at Mania could have happened had Shane not been released? I do think it would have made a lot of sense to have done that match. I know reading the dirt sheets, and particularly Ringside News, Shane was pulling for bigger matches, Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley being 2 of them. He even wanted to be the #1 entrant in the Royal Rumble, having it all focused around him. I would have liked to have seen Shane and Austin Theory in there. If you've seen my Elimination Chamber fantasy booking video, you would actually see in there that I actually included Shane McMahon to start a feud with Austin Theory as the special guest referee in that video. I still think it's a great video, despite the fact Shane got released. So I recommend to go and check that out if you haven't already. But certainly, it's a match that I think would have made a lot of sense with Vince being around in it as well. They could have done a lot of fun things with it, but it's not to be. I think a lot of people are probably not so keen on seeing Shane McMahon, especially after a lot of the rumours of how it was meant to be conducted at the Royal Rumble and how messy that Royal Rumble match was. If Shane needs to take a lot of the blame of that, then yeah, I think perhaps people are probably not too sad to see the back of him at this moment. KXI, I feel like it will be a dog collar one. That'd be an interesting shout because we've been talking about Roddy Piper a lot in the feud. Do you know what's a great idea that? And Piper was involved in the boxing match, wasn't he? WrestleMania 2 as well. So yeah, some great suggestions there. I like the idea there of the dog collar. I think that's a fun one. It would be quite old school as well. We don't see a lot of that. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't that the style of match or maybe a similar named gimmick match that was done for Cody and Brody? If I'm not mistaken, or something along that line. It was definitely a sort of like a strap match. If it wasn't around the necks, it was along that sort of line. But yeah, we don't see a lot of that in AEW, so that certainly could be a fun idea. I like that. Thoughts on Dolph in NXT? Different was my first thought when I heard him come out. I know that if you're watching NXT and you think to yourself, "Oh, a main roster music hits off," I don't know. I've kind of disconnected with Dolph Ziggler over the years. Dolph was one of my favorites back in the 2010s, perhaps even 2009 when he sort of debuted as the Dolph Ziggler gimmick. I felt like the sky was the limit for this guy, and had a lot of faith, especially when you got through to like being the sole survivor in 2014 at Survivor Series. You obviously look back the year earlier as well, cashing Money in the Bank, probably the second greatest cash in ever, the night after WrestleMania on Del Rio. I thought it was when it was going to be his time, but it then just sort of faded away. And I don't know, Dolph is a guy that can have good matches, but just puts people over. If he's NXT long term, I can see it's more of as a trainer role and then being someone that's going to put people over. A match between him and Bron Breakker would be really good for Bron Breakker at this point. Maybe as well, like we said, is someone established and someone that knows how to make a star. So that would be good. But at the same time, I do sit and think to myself that I didn't mind the Dirty Dogs. It's just I don't know. As I said with Dolph, there's been a disconnect, but hey, it can be fun. And him versus Ciampa feels like a fresh match as well. Maybe Dolph will feel like a big deal in NXT. So if it is something that's going to be a longer term rather than just short term, then certainly that could be fun. Who knows? I would just say here that it was a Dog Collar match, a very good match. It was indeed. It was a fantastic match between those guys, between Cody and Brody. I really enjoyed that one back in the day. So yeah, it would be a great idea for CM Punk and MJF. I do like that idea a lot. Jackson Rick here says if he was booking SmackDown, he would call up Bobby Roode full time and get help with the IC belt and add Big E also, and more women's matches and different vignettes. Yeah, well, I mean, I think Robert Roode, if we mentioned Dolph Ziggler a minute ago there, if Dolph is now on NXT, if it's a long-term thing, then perhaps something for Bobby on SmackDown would make sense. Maybe we can try and push him in the mid-card area. Like we said, we kind of, I don't know, we have a lot of mid-card area superstars, but not a lot of them chasing for the title. I know Sami Zayn's got his title match coming up, but I do believe that Sami Zayn might win the Intercontinental title. So maybe it would be wrong for Bobby Roode to go there at that point. So I don't know. There's certainly lots of different ideas that we could go with it, but certainly would be interesting. Maybe a match with Robert Roode and Big E would be quite fun. Who knows? But yeah, more women's matches definitely. There's not enough of them on SmackDown. So yeah, and just to freshen things up. That's definitely what SmackDown needs. KXI, I'm getting it right eventually. If you could pick one crossover match between WWE and Impact, what match would it be? Great question. Oh, it deserves a bit of thought, this one, doesn't it? For me, I tell you what, I would go with Jordan Grace would be because I think the Knockouts division is incredible. I would go with Jordan Grace and possibly Becky Lynch. I think that would be a fun match to watch, I would say. I did do a video at the start of the year of dream matches with WWE and Impact Wrestling. So I think there's some great matches you could do. In fact, if I'm going to pick one for the men, I definitely didn't select this as the match at the time, but certainly it's just one that comes to mind now. But Chad Gable against Josh Alexander would be a lot of fun to watch in ring. And just Chad Gable's recent gimmick as well has just been absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, that's going to be my shouts for you there. Quickly have a little bit of water quickly. I promise it's not vodka. Martin Carrillo, he says, "What's up, Steve? Quite honestly, I know a lot of fans are happy about Keithley joining AEW, but I'd rather hold my breath and wait and see what they do before I give my honest thought on it." I think that's fair. I mean, as Anthony Rated R said earlier, there is always that chance in 2 months' time that you're a bit lost in the shuffle and you don't get pushed the way it's going to be. I think there's been a lot of hype and a lot of happiness with Keith Lee coming in. And like you say, I'm one of them people that will say it was booked really, really well last night. But of course, that was one night. You have to do it over consistent time periods. So yeah, I would agree. Let's see where it can go. But yeah, like I said, as I said at the start of the video, and I don't want to be a broken record because I've talked about him a lot already in this video, but I do think there's going to be some good things coming his way in AEW. And I personally would push him towards the top end of the card. I think that Keithley has definitely got what it takes to be a face of a company. Should have been WWE, should have been a Raw or a SmackDown, but hey, if it's All Elite Wrestling, it's going to be their game. Jamie Holmes in the house. Thank you, Jamie, for checking that stream. Hope you're doing well as well. Main roster wrestlers going to NXT is a good idea. If the NXT champions retain their title against main roster wrestlers, it adds legitimacy to their reigns. Do you know what? Spot on. There's not too much more I can add to it apart from he's right, isn't he? He's absolutely right. Yeah, totally agree with you 100%. If Bron Breakker was to beat Dolph Ziggler, for example, you're beating an established performer. You're beating someone that, you know, has been there, done it all, has been a world heavyweight champion. And like you say, it just makes Bron Breakker look even more better. And when you're beating people that are established that have been there, you build up bigger and greater matches if you want. It gets people like Bron Breakker prepared for those times on Raw and SmackDown in months and years to come. Supersonic X with us now. Thoughts on Io Shirai and Kelly Ray teaming up in the Women's Dusty Classic? I would have been more surprised if Asuka had been Io's partner. Yeah, as I would have been, to be fair with Asuka. I think she will be coming back to Raw or SmackDown imminently at this point. I think Raw would be a more likely destination. There's a hint for you for future videos that I'm going to try and bring out over the next coming days. I know I've been a bit quiet on the video front, but just been a little bit busy, unfortunately. But hopefully I'm going to get back to giving you a lot more content over the next sort of week or so. So do stick with the channel and do get ready for them. But I actually thought, going on to your question here with Io Shirai, I actually thought Saray was going to be the choice. But I do think Kaylee Ray makes a lot of sense because, you know, she's kind of got that no-nonsense feel that Io Shirai also has. We've seen the baseball bat as well being used. I'm sure Shirai had like a weapon like that when she first turned heel and went more to this sort of character in NXT a number of years ago. So for me, with them in the Dusty Classic, I actually think they've got an opportunity of winning it. I could see them doing that and also perhaps them becoming the Women's Tag Team Champions. Perhaps then leads to some sort of problem with Zoe Stark when she comes back. Could be an idea. Mandy Rose seems to have put away Kaylee Ray at this point. I'm not sure if there'll be a rematch of any sorts, but yeah, I think they're going to do well. I certainly see them in the final unless they end up winning it. And I think they could be the final against Raquel and Cora Jade. Martin Carino says, if you could pick 3 talents from NXT, Raw, and SmackDown to trade rosters in between one another, who would you pick and why? Oh dear, that's a great question. Very good question. I mean, we've had Big Ego to SmackDown already, haven't we? But to really freshen things up, that's a very good question. I would say with NXT right now, I think that you would take someone like Raquel Gonzalez. I think she's ready to go to a Raw or a SmackDown. So that's going to be the NXT mover for me. And let's think now. If we move her, we'll move her to. Let's move her to SmackDown. I think SmackDown will be a place that would be good for her right now. You could have her as either the bodyguard for Sonya Deville or perhaps just a babyface that would be a good challenger for someone like a Charlotte Flair or a Ronda Rousey or a Shayna Baszler somewhere further down the line. Even Sasha Banks. There's so many great matches you could do with that. So for me, that would be the one I'd put there. So that would mean then that we have that to SmackDown. So we'll do SmackDown to Raw and Raw to NXT. From SmackDown to Raw, and of course they are owed a trade now. After that, I think we'd look to the tag team, probably division, I would say, because Raw seems to feel a bit dry on tag teams right now. So I think I'd put Los Lotharios back on Raw, just because of the fact that I think that there is more fresh matchups for them on Raw. It feels like they've kind of faced most people on SmackDown already in a short space of time, which is great for them. They've had great TV time. But yeah, that'd probably be the movement I would do there. And then from Raw to NXT. Oh, this is a hard one. Who is not getting a lot of TV time that should? Apollo Crews. That's who I would send down then to NXT, just purely because I think he'd be a big deal going back down there, would be treated pretty well. Because he's got quite, you know, he's got a gimmick going on as well. It's not just one of these sort of fresh-faced people that's just, you know, Ricochet that doesn't seem to have much of a personality, which is not meant to be sort of a dig, but probably comes across as one. I think Apollo Crews could probably thrive in the NXT environment right now. So yeah, that'll be my movement. That was a hard question. Thank you for that, Martin. Jackson Vick says also SCW. I would have Natalia versus Aaliyah. They do actually face off this week on SmackDown. Now that you mention it, but Nat don't face. She's called up Shayna to take down Aaliyah, and Aaliyah wins. And then Nat will be mad and tell Shayna that I told you to beat her up. And then we see a bit of friction, I'm assuming, there from the ladies there as it continues on there. Say that, yeah, frustrating, turning each other into the sharpshooter and vicious. And we build Shayna versus Nat into a Mania feud, first ever dungeon match. That could be interesting, like a Lion's Den idea, I suppose, there. I think that's a fun SmackDown idea there, Jackson. Not going to lie to you. And it'd be something to do for a women's feud. It would definitely give them something to do. I think the Natalia and Aaliyah feud has kind of run its course, in my personal opinion. I don't think I need to see that match too much more. So, yeah, if you were to mix up and get it with Natalia versus Shayna Baszler, I think that's fun. I think it's creative, Jackson. Thank you for that. I think it's a great suggestion. Roman versus Moose. Now that's definitely a champion versus champion, spear versus spear. KXI. Yeah, that's a brilliant selection there. I think that a lot of people would be down to see that match, definitely. But if you haven't seen that video that I did, it was about a month and a half ago now. Go and check it out. Definitely worth it. I think it's a bit of fun, and there's like 15 matches there. So and at that point, I was heavily excited with the Forbidden Door idea. So forgive me for getting a bit carried away, probably in that video as well. It goes on and says, well, since WWE are doing crossovers of NXT, who do you think will be the next one to go there? And who do you think they will face? Great question. Again, we've got some really banger questions on this stream today. I mean, we've had AJ Styles go down there already, so it doesn't matter necessarily who it could be. It could be anyone, really, that's been there. I like the idea, though, of people that have not really been to NXT. So although my head sort of immediately thinks like a Finn Balor, who could have been a trade, by the way, from Martin's question, actually, to SmackDown or something like that, because Finn hasn't really been doing much. But I wouldn't mind Austin Theory going down there just because, and have him against Bron Breakker. I just think it'll be a killer match. It could be a WrestleMania main event in years to come. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe that or Gabe Stevenson would be interesting as well, because I know he's meant to be with the Raw brand as well. So yeah, I mean those could be some fun matches that you could see them have. I mean, Gabe versus Bron Breakker was one that was a fantasy booking idea that I would love to see. It's kind of like your Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle from WrestleMania 19. But yeah, I don't suppose either of them are probably ready for that spot just yet. But certainly would be things I'd like to see somewhere deep into the future. Maybe Rey Mysterio is just the last little one there. Would be quite fun as well. Martin Curry says, if you could switch champions from AEW to WWE right now, who would you trade and who could come out winning out of it as the joint by joining the opposite company? Oh, wow. Damn, these questions today. These are some thinkers. You know, we got someone you think yourself, what? I tell you what, right now, who would you trade who can come out winning of it by joining the opposite company? Well, I think Hangman Adam Page right at this moment would probably benefit from being a WWE champion than a AEW one, I would say at this point. I would say he's probably being booked quite weakly. My main problem with the booking of Hangman Page is not the fact that he's beat Bryan Danielson twice, long lengthy matches, good matches. Same with Lance Archer last night, but I didn't see the storyline carry on with this cowboy. I wanted to see something more, and especially when he didn't win against Bryan Danielson in that first match, I wanted to see the doubt put in his mind. I wanted the idea that, we thought to ourselves, like, can he do this as champion? And then him overcome it the second time round. We didn't really get that. And I think that storyline needed to be told. And I think for this, we kind of feel that he's been sort of lost in the middle. So I think that's probably where I would look at it. As for tag team right now, I suppose the Usos probably. I mean, the Usos would be phenomenal in AEW. Just think about the tag team wrestling, the matches they could have. So yeah, that there we go. We're going to switch some champions like that. But goodness me, it's another tough question, that one. It's that maybe if I can come up with a better answer with that one later in the video, Martin, I'll try and come back to that for you. If I could join Jason, thank you, by the way, for checking out the stream. If you could pick 5 people who should join House of Black, if Black teases Pentagon, Dark turning on Phoenix and joining, perhaps Brody King, interesting as well. And would also add Ruby Soho as the female. That's some good suggestions there. I think Pac and Julia Hart would be 2 that I would pick. And you could do Pentagon Dark as well. I like the fact that they did that tease this past week. I thought that was fun. So yeah, for me, that definitely would be a good suggestion. I'd be interested in seeing this stable if it was to take place, definitely. Danny, thank you, Danny, for checking out that stream. It says, did you see Sasha Banks teasing a door sign with the key? We get Sasha Banks versus Jones for the Knockouts title at Mania. That would be dope. Yeah, like you say, no way, but it would be dope. I think it would be awesome if it was to happen. But like you say, I don't see it happening, unfortunately. But Sasha Banks needs a big WrestleMania match. I'm not sure what's going on with her currently on SmackDown at this particular moment, but obviously the plans of her and Charlotte Flair seem to have completely changed now. It's going to be Charlotte versus Ronda. So hopefully Sasha can still get herself into a big match come WrestleMania. I personally would love to have seen him in the Elimination Chamber as a potential mystery entrant as that sixth person, but I don't think it's going to happen either. But yeah, that's really cool. If she's suggesting stuff, tease it away because hey, we're the winners, we're the fans, we want to see that stuff, right? Take a few more questions on the stream at the moment, and we'll see where we go after these next few. Says that this would help. SC Williams in the house. What this is what I like about that Andrade and HFO is that Andrade might be the one using Matt Hardy for Private Party to join him. Hardy versus Private Party or Andrade Darby. What do you think? Well, that's the thing. I think we're definitely getting Hardy going to be kicked out of this group at some point. I think Andrade is going to be the one taking over it. The fact that Hardy has walked out on Private Party this week is definitely not going to lead too well for that relationship going forward. Of course, eventually, whether he's broken, whether he's just normal Matt Hardy, him and Jeff, I think, will be a team in AEW. That's going to be pretty awesome to see. I'm looking forward to it when it goes down. And yeah, I mean, we can see matches like we see with Private Party there. Andrade, if he picks a partner, but I mean, the likes of Hardy Boys versus FTR, Young Bucks, Proud and Powerful, Lucha Bros, Jungle, and Luchasaurus. That there's some great matches in the line there. So I'm really looking forward to when we do get the Hardy Boys there. KXI, Austin going there. I always had the idea of Grayson and Austin teaming up. Hope that happens when Grayson gets called up. Certainly, well, they had a bit of interaction, let's say, didn't we, when it was AJ Styles feud going on. I think AJ was taking on Austin Theory and Raw, if I'm not mistaken there. So I like that idea. I think that's quite a fun one suggested there. And yeah, I mean, it could work pretty well. Going to go for our next question in a second. Just taking a bit of a spam that's coming in our comment section. We've got SC Williams here. Says you read people's minds with Apollo Crews. Said he want to visit for NXT and get matches with Hayes. Also MVP teasing managing Hayes in the future. Also, I actually saw a thing actually on social media. I don't know if it's Carmelo Hayes shared it, but him and MVP in the ring together, just sparring up. I think that was pretty cool. Carmelo Hayes is a phenomenal talent, and his future is so bright. And Trick Williams is getting so much better on the mic as well from when he started. You could just tell he had a lot of the swagger and a lot of talk, but it didn't quite connect at the start. But for me, really connecting with this duo a lot more. And yeah, I think that would be awesome if it did. If you match that as both Lashley and sort of like that, not say Hurt versus 2.0, but certainly put it together, I think it would be a lot of fun. MVP would definitely look after Hayes. That would be an awesome duo. And, KXI likes that pairing as well there. Also, we've got asked here by Eric Travis, 5 women who need to be repackaged in WWE and AEW and why, and 4 men who fit better in the mid card in AEW and WWE. Cool, that's not easy there, is it? Let's be fair. We've got quite a lot there that would need repackaging. I don't know if I'd repackage that many people, to be honest. If we look at things with WWE and AEW, but then with the women's division, Nikki ASH needs it a little bit. Now, I'm not saying she needs a full character development change, but certainly just a little bit. Now she's gone heel. I wouldn't mind seeing like a sort of more sort of like, I don't know, like a black and silver kind of attire, maybe, just to, kind of give that sort of villainous kind of look for her, just to mix it up a little bit, or maybe like a devilish red, for example, just to change things up, change the pace, change the scheme up a little bit, because the gold and blue for me feels like it's meant to be the sort of squeaky clean baby face, and I think that for me that definitely could do with a bit of a change there. I would probably say Dana Brooke at the moment, just purely because I'm not feeling the 24/7 storyline going on with her and Reggie at this particular moment. To go with people that need repackaging, it's quite difficult. I can't think of 5, unfortunately, because I think a lot of the characters seem to work all right. They just need to be booked strongly in the matches. I think a lot of the things that are going on with the women's division, WWE's and AEW is fairly strong. They just need more TV time, for a lot of them, and perhaps maybe given to a bit of a push where they could be seen as championship contenders. So that probably would be the way I would do it. And even though I would say one wrestler that I'm not sort of invested in is Mercedes Martinez, I still said her gimmick fits what she's doing currently in AEW, so I wouldn't repackage her or anything like that. But yeah, it's hard to answer that. And 4 men who fit better in the mid card in AEW and WWE, so people that I suppose shouldn't be in the main event picture, I guess is where you're going with this. So, I mean, people that sort of fit in the mid, Ricochet and those sort of guys probably fit very well in the mid card. Cesaro fits well in the mid card. Rich Holland, we're going with the pure SmackDown guys here, and Apollo Crews. Those sort of people fit really, really well in the mid card for AEW. Probably looking, those sort of lower card people, the people you don't see on your TV sets every week, like your Joey Janela's, people like that. They're probably better for the mid card rather than sort of that top tier kind of area. KXI, do you think Gable Stevenson should join Alpha Academy? Yes, to start off with. I think that would be a great way to begin things with. And then I think Gable would then quickly break up with them. I think obviously the match with the comedic Chad Gable, I think will be interesting to watch. And then obviously you've got the match with Otis itself, which I think will be pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, this has been definitely a very smart way to debut him and to get him over, because as well, being amongst the Alpha Academy also, you're protected as well. If you're not quite ready, you're not used to things at the beginning, you could take 3 to 6 months, put him a part of a group, and he's protected. So this is actually a really genius idea, I think. So really like that suggestion. We've got here Julius Wright. Thank you for checking the stream. Do you think Malachi Black is using the Ministry of Darkness playbook to build his House of Black? Great question, and Attitude Era vibes as well. Yeah, kind of. I really would agree with the philosophy of it, and I hope he gets to build this House of Black, and we get to see more members. Hopefully, in the coming future, would definitely be interesting to see how it would play out. So, yeah, this is a fun suggestion. I like the idea of it. Yeah, I would say it's definitely going on a similar pattern and a similar theme. Dan Rick saying, how do you feel about Impact Wrestling lately? How do you feel about the Impact and ROH partnership? And do you think I think that's going to be Eddie Edwards going to turn on Impact and join Ring of Honor because he didn't help his guys? This is a brilliant question. This was actually asked to me by Jamie as well recently on one of my Ask SCW Q&As. I can see the idea. At that time, I was not as up to date with Impact Wrestling, but I now have been fully up to date with this storyline. Impact, if you're not watching it, guys and girls, go and watch it, because they probably put in the most consistent product out at the moment on a weekly basis. One of the most consistent TV shows. I know Dynamite is doing some great stuff as well in the last couple of weeks, but Impact needs to be on your watch list right now. I personally, it's definitely more worth watching than Smackdown anyway. Even though I know people will probably say, hang on, Roman's on that show. But to go with it here, I think there's a chance Eddie Edwards does do this term. And I think that because obviously if the ROH guys win this match, the Honor No More, they could stick around. There's no suggestion yet of them sticking around, if that's sticking around until Ring of Honor returns for the Supercard of Honor, or they actually all will sign with the company and actually then be a part of a stable with Eddie Edwards, who then turns his back on Impact. It's a beautiful idea for a storyline. So, Dan, I hope it happens, man, because this would be a fantastic storyline to see play out, especially with Eddie Edwards. I'd love to see the heel promo and perhaps maybe Alicia Edwards joining the group as well. Yeah, I'd be really down for all of it. Definitely give her something to do as well. Give her a prime spot going forward. She's also been that undercard performer. So to actually represent this Honor No More group, to be in there with Maria Kanellis, who Maria probably wouldn't be wrestling, but she could as a representative, that would be pretty badass as well. So yeah, really hope it happens. Ricky Glow, and do you think Pete Dunne gets caught up after Vengeance Day? I'd love to see it, but I don't think so. If I'm honest, I can see Pete Dunne remaining in NXT for the time being. But for me personally, what I would say is, and I've said this before, I've recently said it on the SCW Rewind, the Elimination Chamber 2018 video, which again is a fun one. If you haven't had time, chance to watch it yet, I recommend you do. A lot of things that coincide with current storylines as well that we're watching now, like the build to WrestleMania 34 with Ronda coming in and the build to Rowan and Brock. But we did discuss in the video the idea of Pete Dunne and actually maybe could be quite fun if he was actually to join up with Rich Holland and Sheamus on the main roster, which of course I did in my fantasy booking for the Men's Royal Rumble, but also with Cesaro, like the Bar as well. I mean, all those people, it become like the League of Nations better. We believed myself and Wrestling by Wardridge when we did that video, but certainly would be an interesting idea, I think. And but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to stick around NXT for the time being. Julius Wright, do you think AEW should sign a female wrestler, Scarlet Bordeaux, based off her gimmick? I love the smoke show gimmick and Impact. AEW could use a female character with a lot of sex appeal. I mean, it depends if they want to go down that avenue, but I definitely think there's a chance that she could end up in AEW with Killer Cross. I'm going to say Killer Cross again now from future reference. Don't have to say Karen anymore, which is good news. But Scarlet Bordeaux can go in the ring as well. I think that's the thing that she needs to also be given credit for. Yes, she has a risque gimmick as well. It depends if it would get over with a mainstream audience or not. I know definitely would get over with a certain demographic of the audience without any question. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, would it be something that would work? Time will tell. We'd have to wait and see. But I think that wherever she goes, Cross will be going with her. So yeah, I can see them being a partnership rather than actually just being the smoke show. KSI, who do you think should manage Omos? MVP all day long would be a good idea because MVP's just got vast experience. You've seen work of the likes we mentioned with Carmelo Hayes in the Performance Center. What he's done for Lashley's career has been wonders. So yeah, I think that would be the perfect partnership. I have to give, in fact, credit to Jonesy, who suggested an idea that if Lashley was to go full-on babyface and they were to do Lashley versus Omos at WrestleMania, to have the idea of MVP turning on Lashley to go with Omos. I mean, Lashley probably doesn't need MVP as much as what he did 2 years ago, but almost certainly this moment probably needs MVP if he doesn't want to be in the 24/7 championship picture by the end of 2022. Thank you for checking that screen as well there, Marge. Says, what I like about Owen's promo, it had me thinking, is he interfering in the chamber or taking Riddle out of it? Or are they teasing Owens slowly to form a stable? He's talking about taking advantage. That's a great question. I'm not so sure about a stable, but what I would say is that Owens will not be at the Elimination Chamber. He just won't go over there, unfortunately. But I do feel that it would be fun if they can play into it. Again, I'm going to give you a little bit of scoop from the fantasy booking video that I did with the Elimination Chamber. I'd like Owens to tease that he would want to be there for Seth, and Seth believes that he will be there to watch his back, whether it's, like you said, taking someone like Riddle out of the match, whether it's to get involved when it comes to Seth being in the final two, and Seth then not being able to find Kevin Owens on the day of the show, being, have you seen Kev anywhere? Where's Kevin Owens? He's meant to be here. And then seeing him sort of alone and kind of almost looking out for that help and almost having that self-doubt and help build towards Owens versus Seth at WrestleMania. I think that definitely will be a fun way to do it because, I mean, let's look at the end of Raw. Kevin Owens took an RKO and, you know, Seth just walked away smiling. So, I mean, Kevin Owens at this point is the guy that seems to be left out in the cold, left potentially out of WrestleMania. So he's going to want to make a statement in some way or fashion. And if he can't get there, like you say, the chamber would be a great way to use it if he would go. But since he probably won't go, then I think that a feud with Rollins probably is the most likely at this stage. And they'll probably use the idea that he won't go there, perhaps as the idea to do it. It goes on to say as well, this is great from the Almost question earlier. Malcolm Bivens and Almost, that's the pairing. That's a great suggestion, and KXI thinks it would be as well. Totally love that suggestion. Malcolm Bivens is truly underrated. Big fan of his work with Dynamite, and yeah, would love to see him have big success at some point in WWE, managing someone. And Almost, I mean, even though I'm not the biggest Almost fan, if I'm honest, but I think Bivens would be a good mouthpiece for him. If Eddie wants to join Ring of Honor with Alicia Edwards, I will change her look, something dark, be similar to what Maria is with Mike. Yeah, that could be an idea as well. Of course, obviously you have Kenny as well. Was it Kendra they do with her with the kendo sticks? Certainly could be interesting because obviously there's no honor with using kendo sticks. So yeah, they could definitely mix up and change things up for her and that. And yeah, it would be interesting to see how it would play out. Would be certainly fascinating to see indeed. If you want to get any questions in, get them in while you can now. Probably going to go about another 10 minutes maximum, I'd say, on the stream right now. So if you want a question, do throw it in now. Will probably be a good idea. Bob Williams in the house. Bob, thank you for your question. Did you hear that Shane McMahon is back? We got Austin Theory versus Shane then. And how you feel about Mercedes Martinez with Britt? Is that going to be a feud with her and Jamie Hayter maybe? Great with that last bit because we didn't talk about Jamie Hayter earlier. So that's fantastic that you brought that up. Thank you, Bob, for doing that. The Mercedes and Britt, partnership is a bit random. But it kind of made sense out of left field. It's just the fact we didn't really have anything with Britt and Jamie going on for a number of weeks that we kind of get here and think, what's going on. Oh, we've got to use our brains and think this back to about 4 or 5 weeks ago when the last time AEW mentioned it. But yeah, I do think that eventually this will lead to the breakup with Britt and Jamie Hayter, and perhaps even Mercedes Martinez versus Jamie as well, because Mercedes is not going to get the job done against Thunder Rosa. That will lead Rosa to getting her championship match at Revolution. This could be a situation here then where we get Jamie Hayter against Mercedes Martinez on behalf of Britt Baker, and there could be a scenario that when Britt loses that championship, she blames everybody, and Britt is completely in rivalries with everybody. So yeah, there's certainly different potential scenarios they could go down with that. That's certainly a fresh and exciting idea, and I do believe Jamie Hayter will be one of the more breakout stars in the AEW Women's Division this year. I would expect her to be a TBS champion before the end of the year is out. She's a talented performer as well, and fellow Brit as well. So yeah, definitely giving some props there. As for Shane McMahon, yeah, I did see these today. Apparently, he's been doing some work. I can't remember where, but I saw it on Wrestle Talk. So yeah, is he gone from WWE? I don't know anymore. It's hard to know with all this stuff that's going on. But if Shane McMahon is back, then yeah, it would be good to see him versus Austin Theory. For me, that's the match I think would make most sense. KXI, do you think John Moxley should join Bryan Danielson and his new faction? And if not, who should take his spot? And if not, I'm guessing, if not, who should take his spot? In fact, that is actually brought here beneath there. Sorry for not seeing that first time round. I think it's going to lead to Moxley versus Bryan Danielson at the event. But I tell you what, didn't Bryan put a convincing argument out there? I certainly feel that that would be an interesting duo. And just like you said, the likes of Danny Garcia and Lee Moriarty and people like that would be really, really awesome to see. If they wasn't to do that, maybe Johnny Gargano debuting could be fun, because this isn't that kind of character as well. It could fit nicely in there. But of course, I do think we'll get Mox versus Bryan Danielson. And I think the fact that Moxley was in the team with Punk this week, that will play into narrative come to Rampage this Friday. So do keep an eye out for that. And I'm interested to see where it's going to go. It's a very fun storyline. And this, for me, feels like it could go longer than Revolution. And the way it's starting, the way it was delivered in just that one segment the other week, I'm happy to see where it's going to go for the long term with this storyline. And even if that stable was to come together, I'd actually think it's pretty badass. I'd like it to happen. Who should dethrone Jade Cargill? Great question. My answer to this when we were doing this a few months ago was Take On T, but right now I'm going to stick with Jamie Hayter. I think she would be good. Ruby Soho would be one to be a shout as well, but maybe someone, if someone debuts as well, mention some big names that could improve the division, like a Mia Yim, for example, or, a Taya Valkyrie, or, Ember Moon, those sort of people, if they would have come in, they would definitely be good challengers for Jade Cargill. But Jade's going to be undefeated for a while, so I don't see any changes at that championship in any time in the near future. So I'm going to say Jamie Hayter is my prediction at this point, and I reckon it's going to be at least between 3 and 6 months from now before Jade even there's consideration that she drops the gold. They will drop the gold from her, in my opinion, when she's ready to go for the top women's championship. Bob Williams says MSK LA Knight lost Mantodos and Raquel to feud with Rhea at Mania, and also Io tried to team with Asuka at SmackDown at Dakota Kai. They need a character, and her maybe attack Sasha and the Creed brothers. I think there could be more on the way here. And Bivens also for NXT, Apollo Crews, Drew Gulak, MVP, the manager for Hayes, and maybe Edge Styles again. I like this match with him versus Grayson, and also have Grayson on Raw to team up with Theory to be this generation's rated RKO. That's my trades. Well, there's some great trades in and amongst all that. Good to see that you've taking and giving your opinions for the question. There's a lot of different superstars there, and a lot of people that I think definitely is potential that there could be movers. So just bring some names back up there. MSK would be a great asset to a tag team division. I think that I'm looking forward to talking about. Actually, I'm going to do a Vengeance Day predictions video. I actually hope to drop that on the channel in the next day, 2 days tops. So we'll be on the channel for sure. But MSK, I think, have definitely got a bright future. LA Knight, I definitely think will be on a Raw or a SmackDown after WrestleMania, along with Raquel Gonzalez, and definitely that feud with Rhea would be awesome to see. Creed brothers, Dakota Kai, Io Shirai, all fantastic performers. Io has been doing some dark matches as well, from my understanding, on SmackDown with Dakota Kai. So That would be fun to see. And you mentioned it, Apollo Crews, and Drew Gulak as well. Drew Gulak last week with the sunglasses and making a big deal of it as well. Pat McAfee on commentary would be interesting to see if they were to do something like that. We're going to end the last couple of questions then. KXI, do you think AEW needs more titles? I feel like they need an AEW Dark title. That would be good, actually, as an idea. Just purely because I think that, yeah, it would be good, because if they could do that and then perhaps, I don't know, get the opportunity to then get themselves on Dynamite and Rampage as that champion, I don't know, perhaps maybe, or it's something that can perhaps earn you a contract, because a lot of those people on Dark and Dark Elevation are not all necessarily full-time signed performers for the company. So this could be something that's like, if you win that title, you're given a contract and you are going to be someone that's going to be on Rampage and on Dynamite going forward. So that definitely has got some legs in it. For me, trios belts all the way. That would be something I definitely would be down for personally if they were to bring that in, because they've got a lot of stables. So that's certainly be something I'd like to see. Also, we've got here Jamie or Chris Statlander would be good picks to take it away for Jade Cargill for the TBS Championship. Also here as well, Ember Moon versus Jade Cargill would be fire. I totally agree. As I said here, that match would slap. It certainly would indeed. Hopefully not like a Young Bucks tag team match. Hopefully, but also we've got here. You saw that Drew Gulak managed Shotzi. It could be a mentor to her. Also like that repackage that drew into a teacher. As long as it's not like what's his face off NXT. Goodness, his name now escapes me. Someone help me in the comments with that at the moment. It's Andre Chase. There we go. Andre Chase. Yeah, that kind of gimmick would be quite interesting. Drew Gulak in that way, because it kind of is a similar style, isn't it? But yeah, I've got here Andre Chase to SmackDown. Also, him and Sami Zayn would actually be hilarious in that as well. I too agree. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they're going to do with Drew Gulak. Certainly seems to be an interesting avenue of what they're going with. That certainly seemed a bit wild and bonkers. That's the same. The very, very least. But that's all for this Q&A. Thank you everyone that's been with your questions and stuck with me over the last hour. It's been a lot of fun. It's been great to do this. In fact, what I'm going to say is I'm going to do another one of these this week. That's what I'm going to do, because I've enjoyed it so much. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this Sunday night. So it will be Sunday night UK time anyway. So it'll be Sunday afternoon, replacing the Ask SCW for this week, as I don't have time to do the full Q&A in that way. So what I'll do is I will come back here on Sunday and do this live with you once again. So hopefully we'll see everybody again, and you could be all here with your questions as well. Probably will be in and around a similar time as well, just to give you a heads up of that in time, so you know roughly to make a plan if you want to come and stick around and join me. Last question we'll take here for you. What's your next review? Vengeance Day or Surprise for the Women's Elimination Chamber? Do you know what? I'm planning on doing both. This is the thing. I also have another video in the pipeline that's been meaning to come out for a little while, of what is the greatest Elimination Chamber match of all time according to Wrestling YouTube. There is 10 of us that will be on that video. So I'm hoping to get that out first if I can. There is a little bit of recording that just needs to be finished off with the times up of editing of that video. But with Vengeance Day, there will be that coming out, and a surprise, and all the contenders as well. And my prediction for who will be the female in the chamber, they will all be dropping on the channel over the next few days. That is my intent and my homework, if you want, and hopefully stuff you can look forward to as well. KXI says, this was fun. Steve will definitely be there. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you very much, and to you as well, and to everyone that has been watching as well. Make sure as well to like, share, and subscribe as well if you haven't already. We've got Jackson Wick says, yes, do both. I want to hear your surprise SCW, and don't say AJ Lee. I will not be using AJ Lee on that one, sadly, for the surprise entrant. Although that certainly will be a fun entrant. She's not one on the hit list, but I've definitely got a few in mind. But I've got a bold prediction, or a fixed prediction, who I think will be the female in the chamber. Thank you very much, Jackson Rigg, as well. It says, great show, guys, and SCW, a fun one. Definitely, indeed, there, and I've definitely got a crying, laughing emoji as well there, probably with the shout of AJ Lee. But thank you, everyone, anyway, for watching. I hope you have yourselves a great day. Like I say, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Very close to 1,500 subscribers. And like I say, if you can watch an SCW video, that really helps the channel grow a long way as well. But that's all from me. Thank you for watching. Have yourselves a good one. I'll see you next time. This has been SCW Live, and Keithley is All Elite, the title of this video. If you haven't seen my thoughts on that, then go back to the start of the video and check it out right now. All the best.